There is an enduring military fantasy, the ability to defeat an enemy, cripple their economy, and force a surrender, all without deploying a single soldier on the ground. The mechanism for this is the naval blockade. By establishing sea control, an attacking force forms a perimeter around a nation's coast, strangling the supply of imported oil, weapons, and food. The U.S. submarine blockade of Japan during the Pacific War is often cited as a textbook example of this strategy working. Japan, an island nation highly dependent on imports, saw its sea lanes completely severed. U.S. submarines sank roughly 1,300 merchant ships, and by 1945, Japanese oil imports had effectively ceased. The operation successfully brought the Japanese empire to its knees. But these results expose a deeper truth. The bloodless siege is a myth. Blockades are inherently destructive, and they frequently devastate the wrong targets. A naval siege requires total geographic isolation. When borders aren't fully sealed, even massive operations fail. In 1966, the British Navy launched the Beara Patrol, a blockade against Rhodesia. The logistical cost to the UK was significant. The operation tied up 76 naval ships for nearly a decade in an attempt to stop oil from reaching the Rhodesian government. But as this map shows, Rhodesia bypassed the naval perimeter by utilizing its land borders. Oil supplies simply flowed through South Africa and other unblocked ports in Mozambique. Without total geographical isolation, a naval blockade provides almost no strategic value. It is reduced to a piece of incredibly expensive geopolitical theater. When dealing with rival superpowers, implementing a blockade carries an extreme risk. Under international law, shutting down an enemy's access to the sea is a formal act of war. This image, captured by U.S. U-2 spy planes in 1962, shows Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction in Cuba. It triggered the Cuban Missile Crisis. To intercept offensive weapons without declaring war, the U.S. drew a 500 nautical mile perimeter around Cuba, labeling it a quarantine. For several days, Soviet vessels sailed directly towards this line, halting at the edge as the world braced for nuclear exchange. Soviet First Secretary Nikita Khrushchev rejected the legal wordplay. He called the move outright piracy. Even without nuclear weapons involved, enforcing these perimeters is deadly. During the 861-day U.S. blockade of Wonsan in the Korean War, initial mine-clearing operations sank 2 U.S. sweepers, killing 12 men. To maintain a naval siege, nations frequently have to push the world to the absolute brink of direct, catastrophic military conflict. The core mechanics of a blockade reveal a grim reality on the ground. It is impossible to starve a military apparatus without first starving its civilian population. During World War I, the Allied blockade of Germany cut off critical food and fertilizer imports. This led to widespread civilian desperation during the winter of 1916 and 1917, a period known as the Turnip Winter. By the end of the war, between 424,000 and 763,000 German civilians had died from hunger-related diseases. Simultaneously, an Allied blockade in the Mediterranean contributed to a famine that wiped out a third of the population of Mount Lebanon. 50 years later, during the 1967 Nigerian Civil War, the federal government imposed a total land, sea, and air blockade on the secessionist Republic of Biafra. The blockade claimed an estimated 1 to 2 million lives. The vast majority of these deaths were caused by hunger and disease rather than direct combat. By targeting the essential supplies needed for survival, blockades frequently transform localized territorial conflicts into humanitarian disasters. History shows that naval blockades operate as blunt instruments of mass deprivation. This tactic is still in active use today. Israel's ongoing siege of the Gaza Strip, beginning in 2007, stands as the longest continuous blockade in modern history. The mechanics involve severely restricting fishermen to a fraction of their legal waters and choking the entry of essential goods, trapping the Strip's 2.3 million residents in a prolonged crisis. These modern restrictions mirror the historical precedents set during World War I and Biafra, where the intentional cutoff of supplies generates acute humanitarian crises and civilian starvation. A naval siege targets the entire foundation of a society. While the warships may remain safely out of sight over the horizon, their presence is felt through the systematic destruction of the communities